Hi, in this video I will try to build the game Pong with the Impact game engine. I will just try to give you an overview of what it's like to build a game with Impact. I won't go into all the details. You can always look these up in the other tutorials. So I just unpacked the Impact engine into my web servers directory and started a new project in Komodo. And I still have the default index.html file and the default main.js game file. And this is what it looks like in the browser. I did add, however, some graphics into the media directory. These are the collision tiles that I will use in the editor. Then I have the animation sheet for the hook, the pedal for the CPU in red, and the pedal for the player in blue, and of course the tile set for the main background layer. So, okay, I will just start by adding all the entities we need. These are namely the hook entity. Then we need an entity for the pedal, and derived from that entity we will add the pedal player and another file for the pedal CPU. Okay, I will first define the keys with which you can control your own pedal, and I do this in the init function of the main.js of my game object. And I can just bind a key to an action, and I will call this action up. Oops. And I will have another action that's called down and bound to the down arrow key. Okay, so let's create the hook entity. In Impact you always have a bit of boilerplate for the module definition. This is in order to let Impact load the required files. So this module is called entities hook, and it requires from Impact the entity, the base entity. And we will create a new class. This is called entity hook, and it is derived from the base entity. Okay, this hook has a size of 84 by 84 pixels. It has a collision mode, which in this case is active. I will tell you a bit more about this later. And it has an animation sheet, which is in the media directory and called hook.png. And each frame of this animation is 84 by 84 pixels in size. So we have the init function, which always gets the x and y position of this entity, and a settings object with additional settings. Most of the time this is empty. We will call the parent constructor because we don't want to deal with all the stuff that goes on in there. And then we add an animation. We will call this animation idle. Each frame of this animation is displayed for 0.1 seconds, and the sequence is from the first to the second frame, and so on. It will stay a bit on the last frame and then go back down again. And if you look at the animation sheet again, you can see that it has 5 frames, and what we did is we just went from the first to the second and so on to the last frame, stayed there for a bit, and then go down again. So this will create a pulsating animation. Okay, I also want to add some velocity for this entity as soon as it gets created. So velocity in the x and y direction. Okay, let's just copy that and create the pedal entity, because this is called pedal, It also requires the base entity. It is derived from the base entity, but we have to change the name. And the size of the pedal is 64 by 128. And the pedal collides fixed. This means when the puck collides with the pedal, only the puck will be moved to resolve the collision. We don't want the pedal to also move back when it's hit by the puck. We want to stay the pedal where it is. Here we define the animation sheet again, and one frame is 64 by 128. And we add an animation. We will just display each frame for 1 second, and we only have one frame, so we just enter this one frame. You don't need the initial velocity. So that's about it for the pedal. And I will now create the CPU pedal, which is called pedal CPU, and we require the base pedal we just created. And this is, of course, derived from the base pedal and called pedal CPU. Don't have to state the size and collision mode again because it's already defined in the base pedal. Also, we don't need the animation sheet. Neither do we need the init function. What we do need, however, is the update function, which will get called for every frame. And we will call the parent update function, which moves the entity according to its physics according to the velocity it has, and so on. So what we do here is we will get the puck object from the game. We can do this by the get entities by type method, and this method returns an array of entities, and we just want the first one, so let's do this here. And now we have to react to the position of the puck, to the Y position, and we will find the center of the puck, which is the position plus its size. And if this is greater than our position plus our size, then we have to move up. And we do this by just changing the velocity. Otherwise, the puck is below our pedal, so we will move down. Okay, so that's about it for the CPU pedal. Very simple AI. Let's create the player pedal. Of course, it's called player. It's derived from the base entity pedal. And again, we have to change the name here. Oh, one thing I forgot is in the CPU pedal, we only require the pedal object, but we also need to require the puck entity because we need it here. So yeah. Okay, what we will do in the update function for this player is react to the player input. So let's just do that. If the up action is active, we have to move up. Oops. If the down action is active, we have to move down. And if none of these is active, we will just stop the pedal where it is. Okay, again, we call the parent update function so that the entity moves according to its physics. And another thing we have to change is the animation sheet. We reference the red pedal in the base entity, and we will need the blue pedal for the player. Again, it's 64 by 128 pixels. Okay, so let's try to load that in the editor. Let's see. Everything seems to be loaded, so we will create a new layer in this editor. We call this first the main layer, 16 by 10 tiles, and a tile size of 84. Okay, looks better. And we also need a collision layer with the collision tiles. And again, this is 16 by 10. Let's move this one up and just create the game field. Let's create the, oops. Let's make this the CPU side and this the side for the player. And paint in some stuff. Just to have a bit more variety. Okay, looks perfect. So now we have to define the collision for this, and of course only our walls are solid. So I guess that's about it. Let's save this as main.js. Okay, and one thing I forgot in the Impact game, let's just start the game with 60 frames per second and the size of 768 by 480 pixels, and not scale it up. And we also don't need this font. If we now load the game in the browser, you will see nothing because we didn't load the level we just created. We also have to require all the entities that we created earlier. So require the book entity, the CPU pedal, and the player pedal, and we also have to require the game, the level we just created, which is called main. And in our init function we will load this level. Okay, so this should load the background level. You can see it here, but nothing happens because we didn't add the entities to it. So back to the editor, and on the entity layer we will just create the book object, the CPU pedal, and the player pedal. That looks about right. And save it again and reload the game. Okay, so there are two problems. One problem is that the CPU pedal seems to move in the wrong direction. Let's just check that. Yep. And the other problem is that the book is stuck on the bottom of the screen, and this is because we didn't define the bounciness for this book object. Let's just reload, and it bounces back up and the pedal moves, and I can move my pedal with the cursor keys. So yeah, that's about it. Of course I can, now with all this in place, I can go a bit crazy and just add some more stuff. Of course I have to also define this on the collision layer, what I just added, and I don't know, let's add another CPU pedal and another player pedal and another book entity. Oops. Just save it again and reload. And now I move both my pedals at the same time, and I have to react to both PUC entities. As you can see, you also have the animation on the PUC entities that we defined earlier. So everything seems to work. That's how you build a game with Impact. Thanks.